Star Trek Nemesis. It's a 2002 action movie starring Stuart Bird and Patrick Stewart, Jonathan Frakes, Brett Spiner, LeVar Burton, Michael Dorn, Gates McFadden, and Marina Sirtis. And Tom Hardy in a very early starring role, and Ron Perlman. And now this is the final Next Generation movie. And it's actually it kind of surprised me that it came out in 2002 because I thought, like Insurrection's like, it's not that good, and a lot of people have their own complaints about the next gen movies, and a lot of people say like the true ending of the show is the final season, not necessarily the final series finale, but the final season. And so, it's kind of like a choose your own adventure, like which do you want to see or say is the final ending. Now, me personally, I saw this movie like when it first came out. I have very few memories of when it like first came out, and then I picked it up again when I was in oh shit, seventh to ninth grade, around that area. I rewatched this movie quite a bit because this movie is really at that demographic for like 13 to like 14 to 15-year-old boy. It's just the insane shit that's happening. Because okay, that's another problem is of what people have with this movie. Now, me personally, this is how I look at this movie. This movie and what these characters are saying, it's not like true Star Trek. This is like 70s schlocky sci-fi action with very respectable characters in it. So it's like somebody had this idea of this really schlocky fun shit they wanted to do, but they're like, well, we got license for all these next gen characters. We could just throw them in this and call it happy. Because Star Trek was science over violence. And Star Trek is very violent. The original series to next gen to the movies, they are, but it was always like the science, the characters, the script is what they really wanted to focus on. And this movie is much more on the action. And I like it just mainly, like, I can look past it as Star Trek and just see it as schlocky fun. There's a lot of dumb schlocky stuff in it, but it is entertaining. And I understand that's a lot of what people have as Star Trek shouldn't be like a dumb popcorn thing. It should like push the viewer to question certain stuff and have characters come over moral dilemmas. And all the actors present the lines they're saying with such dignity and almost Shakespearean-esseness to what they're saying is rather goofy and clunky. But it, like the dumb stuff in it, is a lot of fun. Like, the dinner scene, so the plot of it is, so you got the next gen crews going on their final mission. Riker and Diana Troya have just been married, so they're going to be retiring. And Picard's thinking of leaving. And it just so happens, the Romulans took DNA from Picard and made a clone who is supposed to be advanced aging, so he hits, like 56 or 60 in the span of like a year. So he has a normal life up to like he's 25 or whatever, then instantly gets aged to like 56, so they could replace it too, but it ended up happening, and now he controls this giant ship and wants to blow everything up. And the final climax of the movie, it's dumb. It is. But it is fun. Like, just straight up Picard throwing the Enterprise into the other ship. So they crash into each other. So there's a giant gaping hole in the hull, and he can clearly see Tom Hardy, who plays the clone, and it is just stupid insane. And there's the action and it's fun, but like there's part of my brain to where it's like I understand why everyone's upset. Like, this isn't true Star Trek. But I do really enjoy this movie because I can view it as that. And this is like a swan song for Data because, he's best friends with Picard in the movies. In the TV show, he wasn't really super close with Data. He just kind of like saw everybody as the same. Because, captain of the ship, he did have favorites, but everybody was at the same level. And so, Worf doesn't do a whole lot of shit in this, which I get it, they really focus on other stuff, but the main scene I want to talk about is Picard, he's having the final showdown, so Data runs out, jumps from ship to ship in space because he's an android, and androids do that shit. Lands on the other space, they have this giant shootout, and the ultra mega super death ray can't be deactivated, so Picard has to go back, or Data puts the beacon on him, presses it, so he phases back, and Data takes the phaser and sacrifices himself. And that's how it ends, with all the characters just kind of having like a little funeral, reminiscing of Data. And I get, like, they're really pushing, like, this is the final Star Trek, so we need to go big and grand and epic. In the long run, it didn't, like, this was a complete box office failure, and so many fans were just, like, shitting on the movie, and I get why, okay? Like, that's how I feel with, like, the new Star Wars movies, or, like, I like the new Star Trek movies. Probably talk about them later. So I don't have a huge gripe against this movie. I generally do enjoy this movie. For the schlocky funness, I give it a solid 3 out of 5.